Please come in. You're right on time. The door only opens when the clock strikes midnight. Georgia and Hannah are preparing to broadcast from the belfry. Just like this old bell tower, they have many stories to tell. Some old and some new. Follow me up these stairs, but mind your step. Ah, they're waiting for you.
And like my backpack, and we have, just like all kinds of stuff that really doesn't need to be inside. So we're both really excited to do that.
Nice. Then you have more office-y space for office-y things.
I want to get a better desk. I want to go to the restore,
Yeah,
pick
that's
something
what
up.
like I want to do, which is kind of why we just moved this because I was like, I am not spending enough time in the office to do things that I
Mhm.
need to do, so they're not getting done because I need to be in here to do them, but I
Yeah.
don't want to be in here to do them because I want to be sitting on the couch.
Hmm.
But like since we moved this stuff around, we've spent a lot of evenings just like if I'm like working on, like editing or whatever, Shannon will bring a Switch in and just like sit over here and do stuff.
Hmm.
Or like he wants to play Civ, so like I come in here with like my pen pal letters or like my coloring book or something
Yeah.
and sit in here and it's way better. But it's
Yeah.
still a fucking mess. But yeah, we need a bigger desk and like a better setup still, but
Well, I'm thinking of going to the restore tomorrow if they're open. Are they open on Sundays?
they either aren't or they're only open from like 12 to 4 or something weird like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've had an exciting week, I think.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it started off with you having a breakdown during D&D.
Oh
And
yeah.
and
Because I thought George's character died. And so I was, sobbing
it,
like in real life.
I sacrificed myself to save my friends and the whole world. It's
That
fine.
shit
No,
pissed me off. I was like, don't you
NBD.
dare. Don't you dare.
And it ended with us last night in our respective bathtubs with our cats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because of the two tornado warnings that were
Oh
overlapping
my
over
God.
where we live.
Yeah, so my mom was at Allerton,
That's really
like
funny.
at the like staying in one of the rooms there.
Yeah.
And I texted her and I was like, "Are you in a shelter?" And she didn't text me back. And I was like, "Man, I bet there's not shit happening there." And she texted me this morning saying like, "Well, they knocked on our doors and told me that if the siren went off, that like this is where we need to go." But the sirens never went off. And I was like, "There's fucking two sirens going off here simultaneously." But it's fine. I had Sebastian and his little feeding tank, because he's a
Hmm.
bad at being a toad and he's really bad at hunting, so he has to go in a tank to eat so he doesn't get distracted.
Simba.
And Milo, he seemed pretty chill about the whole
He's
thing.
he's really chill about storms and loud noises.
Yeah, Luna was not bothered whatsoever. Like, and Kat sent me a snap that Hilda was like kind of nervous, and I was like, "What's that like?" Luna's just like, "Why do you have me trapped in this bathroom, mother? Open the
Yeah.
door!" Like, just so upset. Yeah, that's like the first. I told Shannon, I was like, "This is the most like tornadoes that have almost, like the most tornado warnings or whatever since I moved back to Illinois, and they've only
Hmm.
been since you moved here." And he was like, "Yeah, it tends to happen to me a lot." I was like,
Well, there
"Oh,
was that one where it was during the
at
workday because we
MPL."
were at NPL. Yeah, that was really scary.
And I was in an Uber on my way to work, and the siren
Yeah.
started going off, and I was like, "I don't know what to do in this situation. Just keep taking me to work, I guess."
Come on, Bubba. You gotta get off of me. Oh my God. Ow.
Milo.
He's a salty bitch.
And the government didn't shut down.
I genuinely don't want to talk about it. I'm so full of anxiety and stress and rage and sadness and frustration over it. And I can't feel that way anymore. I'm gonna explode. I've been taking my my anxiety attack medication that's supposed to be taken as needed
You're
way
taking
too frequently.
it like twice a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't do it anymore. I mean, I will if I have to, but I don't want to have to.
Yeesh. It's
So I'm
great.
having a bit of an ignorant
Everything is
moment
great.
right now. No,
Yeah.
it's fine. No, it's fine. Everything's
Well,
fine.
yeah. I I'm just worried about my job constantly. Because you guys have IDOT, and that's great. But now that we're 100% grant funded, it's big poopy. But anyway, all right. Well, I have a question. I have so many questions for you today, actually. So I
Oh
hope you are
God.
ready to like bring your big trivia brain to this
Oh
episode.
God. Let me turn my sound up so I can hear your questions clearly.
Big
Also,
trivia brain.
I got big dick energy in the trivia. No, I'm so bad at trivia, Georgia. This is not going to go well.
Well, my first question is, okay, we firmly established Mary Shelley as being, oh, also sorry, I've been sick and I'm still very nasally, and I'm sure that's gonna translate on this recording, but
Whatever.
I just have that constant feeling that there's phlegm in the back of my throat,
Ew.
you know.
Yes, I know what you mean. But it's still like, ew.
Yeah, it's gross. It's great.
Gross.
Okay. We firmly established Mary Shelley as being the goth queen herself in season one. But who
Yas,
is the
Queen
goth
Slay.
king?
Your mom.
No.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Hell yeah, he is.
I
Is it
just suddenly remembered what you're talking
it was
about.
like, is it even a question? No.
No, it's not.
He's the goth king
If you
himself.
don't know, you're uneducated or you live under a rock.
Okay, my second question. When you think of Poe, what kind of America do you imagine?
What kind of America?
Yeah, like logically, I know where he fits into the timeline of things, but when I imagine like him moving around the world, I do not like picture it historically accurate.
No, okay. Have you seen that John Cusack movie?
Hell yes, I have. I love that movie. I know it's
Me
like
too.
completely like poetic license and everything,
Oh
but I still
yeah.
enjoy it. Like it's
I
still a
love that
fun like
shit.
fictional, like loosely based on
Yeah.
events. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this episode too is like yeah, obviously that's like crazy fictionalized circumstances. Also, Luke Evans is like big movie premiere. Thank
Hell
you very
yeah.
much.
Um,
But yeah,
shit, I was gonna say something about John Cusack, but I lost it. Okay, please continue.
so like I tend to picture a more like true Victorian setting later in the
Mm,
century.
yeah.
So what I did was I looked up a few fun facts to help place Poe in history.
In the real world, in
Yeah.
the actual world memory, and not just John Cusack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edgar Poe, he was born in uh on January 19th, 1809. So, the following month, both Charles Darwin and Abraham Lincoln were born.
Wait, I actually knew that about Charles Darwin. Didn't know that about Abraham Lincoln.
The month after that, Thomas Jefferson finished his second presidential term,
Jesus Christ.
aka Daddy J. The fake one
Daddy,
though, not the real one.
The fake one?
Yes, the real Daddy J
Quite
is
literally
the one living now.
the real Thomas Jefferson and
He's
not,
the real Thomas Jefferson, but he's not the real Daddy J.
but he's not Kurt.
He's not Kurt.
He's
Kurt is the real
absolutely
Daddy
not.
J.
Kurt is the real Daddy J. Nobody can
Oh,
tell me
God.
nothing.
So he finished his second presidential term. And like, remember, Thomas Jefferson was only the third president of the United States.
Thomas
And
Jefferson. Sorry.
Thomas
I'm sorry.
um so like he was born in Thomas Jefferson's presidency and then James Madison took over, obviously. Terms went from March to March at that time, which
Mhm.
is, not how it is today. My point being that America was still so young, which
Mhm.
is not like the America that I picture Poe being in.
Exactly.
Um,
Like early America. Hi, can I
yeah.
help you? Where's mine? I pushed him off me earlier. I don't know where he went. Is he in the closet? Did he get himself stuck in there? Hello. Okay. Please continue.
To further that point,
Hmm.
there were only 17 states. That's only four more than what we started with. Can
Yeah.
you name the original 13 states?
I can. We had to do this at trivia the other day.
Oh my God. Okay, do
And
it.
I had to write it down, but I got it. Okay. Okay. I need a piece of paper. God. Oh God. Chaos. Duh. Okay. So we've got Virginia.
Uh-huh.
We've got Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
We've got Maryland and Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. We've got the Carolinas. So that's
Mm-hmm.
two. We've got Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's seven. New York,
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know Connecticut is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut. And then I'm gonna say Vermont and New Hampshire.
New Hampshire is one.
Vermont is not?
It's not one of the original 13.
Really? Then what the frick was
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island? Really? Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
That's so unfortunate because Rhode Island is full of rich, snobby people.
Rhode Island is towards the top of the states that I want to visit, but that's really only because I want to go to Providence, for like my Lovecraftian interests.
Oh yeah. Rhode Island and New Hampshire.
So
Vermont is
then,
not? That's crazy.
so then, which four make up the additional 17 that were states when Poe was born?
What year did you say it was?
1809. Now is
Florida?
no, but you should say Vermont now.
Vermont now. Okay.
Oh,
Ohio?
I was gonna say, if you don't get one of them, you're a dishonor to yourself and your family.
I think Ohio was like 1807 or 1806. Was it
It's
earlier than that?
1803.
1803. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it's on the frickin' that's right. Yeah, the bicentennial was in 2003, and that's what a lot of the license plates have on them. Maine?
Nope.
Okay. So we've got Vermont, we've got Ohio.
Hmm. In the last year and a half, we have driven to or through both of these states.
Tennessee,
Hmm.
and Kentucky.
Yep.
Hell yeah. That was a good hint.
Thanks. So in 1809, when Poe was born, Illinois became a territory.
Mm.
Fun fact, Indiana was the other territory at this time because the Northwest Territory had already been split up by the formation of the Indiana Territory in 1800 and then Ohio becoming a state in 1803.
Mm.
So the Illinois Territory covered what is now Illinois, Wisconsin, part of Minnesota and part of Michigan, like the
Mm.
bottom part of the UP of Michigan.
Yeah.
Do you know what the capital of the Illinois Territory was?
The capital of the Illinois Territory? It
Yeah.
can't have been here.
No.
So the Illinois Territory included Illinois,
It's in Illinois.
Wisconsin. Oh, it's in Illinois.
Yeah.
Fucking don't tell me it's Cairo. I'll shit my
No.
pants. Oh, thank God. Is
Um,
it north?
no. Think about your French colonialism.
My French colonialism.
Yeah.
Kankakee, Starved Rock.
Nope.
Um, oh, is it? It's on the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis.
Mm-mm. It's in Randolph County.
What? Oh,
Kaskaskia.
yeah, Fort
Yeah.
Kaskaskia. That's right. God, I always forget about that place. Sorry, Tamira. Hmm.
Also in 1809, Meriwether Lewis died under mysterious circumstances himself, which is, I didn't know he died under mysterious circumstances, so that's like a whole tangent I'm gonna read about later.
Hell yeah.
It's like generally accepted that he committed suicide, but like
Hmm.
it's kind of sus.
Well, yeah.
Napoleon was on his rampage. The Napoleonic Wars were wreaking havoc across Europe. George the Third is still king, celebrating his Golden Jubilee. So, like,
Yeah, he died in the 1820s, didn't he? Or 1818? Or no, I think Charlotte died in 1818 because he died after her,
yeah, and I don't remember.
hilariously, despite him being the one who was effed up.
This is fifty years into his reign,
Hmm.
and it's 1809, so it's like close to 30 years after the Revolution.
Hmm.
It's crazy to be like, yeah, it's 1809, America is America, but like the king that America revolted against is still ruling.
Yeah.
The Ottoman Empire still existed. What a time to be alive.
When did the Ottoman Empire stop becoming a thing? It
I
was in
think it
the
was really
1800s.
late.
Or was it early 1900s? Wait, I think it was just before the Great War.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 1922.
Oh, after. Fascinating.
I thought it was really late. Yeah, like in terms of, yeah, after World War One. So
Oh,
like
damn.
that's like generally what was going on in America, and then like a couple things that were like influencing America.
Yeah.
He and Abraham Lincoln were born in the same year. That's crazy. Okay, so he was born in Boston, where both of his parents were actors. In
Fascinating.
1810, his father abandoned the family, which was him and his mom and his older brother. Um, and in 1811, his mother died. And it didn't really say anything. Anything I read was very much focused on him and like maybe mentioned his brother, but not at
Hmm.
all. So when I say Edgar was taken in by John Allen, who was a wealthy businessman in Richmond, Virginia, I do not know if that was Edgar and his brother. Like, I would assume it is, but it did not explicitly
Who's to
say that.
say?
So I only really saw a reference that his brother died and that kind of like set him on one of his spirals, but that was it. Um,
Yeah.
but so this is where the Allen comes from, making him Edgar Allan Poe as we know him today. He was never legally adopted, but John Allen made sure he attended the best schools, and he went on to the University of Virginia, which at this point, by the time he went there, had only existed for 7 years.
Oh
Because
my
what else was
God.
Thomas Jefferson gonna do now that he wasn't president anymore? He's gonna establish a university.
Of course. Smart ass.
He wasn't really financially supported by John Allen anymore, and their relationship dissolved. And Poe returned to Boston, where he enlisted in the army in 1827. I did read something that suggested that, so like John Allen remarried, and it was his second wife who seemed to have like driven a wedge between them. One would assume for like inheritance purposes to make sure that she got the money and he didn't, or, you know,
Hmm.
unfortunately. He was honorably discharged from the army in 1829. And in those 2 years, he published his first two poetry collections, mostly unsuccessfully. Eventually, he weighed.
He weighed?
He weighed.
We know how much he weighed?
He made
Incredible.
it made his way
Your
to Boston.
your biographical skills popping up.
I got his medical records. I wish.
Oh
He
my
made
goodness.
his way to Baltimore, where he lived with his aunt, Maria Clem. That's a good ass deep puppy, let me tell you.
Oh my God.
And it's after this that his stories start getting published by the Philadelphia Saturday Courier. That led to him becoming the editor of the Southern Literary Messenger, which took him back to Richmond.
Hmm.
And his, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my streaks with Shannon and Seth.
You better get on that, homie.
I fixed it. Okay. Um, so he's going back to Richmond. His aunt and his 12-year-old cousin, Virginia, go with him.
Hmm.
What?
We all know about Virginia.
So, yeah, let's rip this band-aid off real quick.
Uh-huh.
They got married when she was 13 and he was
Mm-hmm.
27.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of assumption based on interpretations of his writing and their letters and everything that they didn't consummate their marriage until she was older, if they even did at all. So, like, that's good to know, I guess.
Okay.
And they didn't even share a bed until she was older. Some people have suggested that Poe wasn't even interested in women from the way it was explained. It kind of sounded to me like he may have been on like the ace spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and he just had this fascination with like the beauty of women in like kind of an internally romanticized way
Mm-hmm.
as a source of inspiration for his writing about the women that he wrote about. And then other people believe that their relationship was more like siblings. So
They
maybe
were
the
literally
marriage,
cousins, so,
yeah.
you know.
And so maybe the marriage was just for like financial security.
Okay.
But either way, it's greatly debated. She was a super, like, she wrote him really romantic, like letters and poems about him as well. So for all intents and purposes, whatever relationship they did have, it was very mutual. Like, regardless of what type of love they had for each other, it was shared equally between them, and they like both loved each other a lot and were, like a good part, like whatever, however they were partners, they were good in their partnership, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Except, she was 13.
Yeah,
Well, obviously they weren't like partners when she was 13. Like I said, all that other stuff. Over the next 10 years, he became prominent as a writer and literary critic. The Raven was published in 1845, which was like what kind of made him famous at the time, or as famous as he would get at the time. And then in 1847, Virginia died from consumption, of course. She was 24. Given the context of season one, I will add that she was not exhumed and staked as a vampire, like Mercy Brown. He
You
had
said 1847, right?
yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think of like what life was like then compared to earlier America.
I mean, Darwin still hasn't published on the origin of species.
Nope, he had 12 years to go.
I don't know who was president in 1847.
Ooh, can I guess? Um,
You
who's
guess, and I'll look it up.
1847. Okay. I'm gonna guess Hulk.
Folk. Okay.
Is it?
who was president in 1847.
And don't tell me who it is. Just tell me if I'm wrong or
You're sure not wrong.
not. I got it?
I'm not good at
Shocked.
trivia.
I swear. That was a pure
Uh,
guess. I was like, okay, it's either Polk or like some bullshit dude like Warren G. Harding or something.
yeah. One of the ones that we always forget about when you're like listing the presidents.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, Polk is one of those for me, but
Oh.
so he had a couple relationships after Virginia's death, but none of them really went well. It seemed like he was particularly unpopular with mothers. Like all his girlfriends or whatever, all these women that he proposed to or courted, their mothers were like, "Get the fuck away from my daughter."
Mm.
Which,
He's an emo king.
well, he was becoming a bit unstable and erratic. Like
Hmm.
he was well into having hallucinations by this point and these like fits of odd behavior. And everyone just assumed he was like drunk and a drug addict. So all of that for context, because we're not really talking about Poe's biography. We're talking about
Yeah.
his death and the
Yeah.
mysterious circumstances around it. I thought I was being
Sure,
really
you're giving the
clever.
context.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the context. I thought I was being really clever when I was writing my notes because I was like, oh, a necrography. That's like the opposite of a biography. And I Googled it to see if it was a real word. Have you heard of it being used before?
Mm-mm.
This is what I found. This is
Oh,
fascinating.
scared.
Necrography examines the death and the dead, exploring how death and the deceased shape the narratives and experiences of the living, and is particularly used in the context of colonial museums, where there is a need to look at the histories of loss and death surrounding museum collections rather than simply focusing on the biographies of the objects, advocating for a more critical and ethical approach that acknowledges those histories associated with cultural heritage objects.
Interesting.
I made up a word that is kind of relevant to my job without even knowing it.
Nice.
The use of the term was popularized by Dan Hicks, who is the creator, fucking Christ, curator at the Pitt Rivers Museum. And a fun fact, we're apparently, we, and mostly the NAGPRA office, we're negotiating a transfer of Illinois ancestors from the Pitt Rivers Museum, like
Whoa!
currently,
We've
which
come
is
full circle.
wild. Yeah.
We've made it.
I just thought that was a really cool term that I hadn't heard of and is relevant for us working in collections.
Yeah. I feel like we would, utilize that more if we were like writing papers or putting up exhibits or something.
Yeah,
'Cause we right now we mostly just kind of keep all the information to ourselves.
it's good to know that this is a concept that exists for
Hmm.
future use
Yes.
when it becomes irrelevant or relevant, irrelevant. Ugh. Okay, the mysterious death of Edgar Allan Poe. Here we go.
Let's
We're
go.
getting into the nitty-gritty. Get your red string out.
I have purplish blue string.
Good enough.
It's okay. So long as that you're okay with it, so long as that's acceptable. I want to get a good grade on the assignment.
This ass.
Hey.
It's
Hey now.
1849.
Yes.
Poe is based in New York. He is still living with his aunt slash mother-in-law. At the end of June, he leaves on a lecture tour to raise money for and publicize the release of his own magazine, which was going to be called The Stylus.
Mhm.
He went to Philly, and then he went on to Richmond, where he reunited with his childhood sweetheart, who was also widowed, and they renewed their engagement. Around this time, he also wrote that he was recovering from a bout of cholera, which he picked up in Philly, and that included more hallucinations. And at this time, he was still insistent that he hadn't been drinking, which is relevant. So he decided he was going to go back to New York to fetch his things and also get his aunt to bring to Richmond because, like, I think he just feels responsible for taking care of her at this point.
Well, yeah, I get that.
But first, he stopped by the office of Dr. John Carter, and it's apparently a notable fact that he mistakenly took the doctor's cane instead of his own when he left. And people think this is important because he may or may not have been aware that the doctor's cane was apparently a sword cane.
Mm, which is something that we should bring back,
Oh, yeah,
obviously.
100%.
Obviously.
But there's no way to know for sure, obviously, if Poe knew that it was in fact a sword cane or not. Um, After a late dinner with acquaintances, they went with him to the dock where he boarded a pier, dock, whatever, I'm not really sure, where he boarded a boat for Baltimore. And they all reported that he was sober and in good spirits, and that he said he'd be back soon. And that was on September 27th. And it's possible that he had around $1,500 on him that he had raised for his magazine, which would be like $60,000 today.
That's crazy. Why the hell are you carrying that around?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
But evidence for that is like if it was one person saying that someone else had told or had written in a letter that they had given him that as an advance for the magazine, but it never
Hmm.
came from the person themselves. So no one really knows if that's true or not. And there was no money on him when he was found. So the next day he arrived in Baltimore where he had a cousin, Nielsen Poe. And Nielsen was unsure of what Edgar got up to while he was in Baltimore. It's believed he went to see a different doctor who ended up being out of town, but this fact only seems to have been mentioned for the first time in 1885, so is it even a fact?
Hmm. Who's to say?
It was believed that Poe then went back to Philadelphia as he had promised Mrs. Leon Loud that he would edit her collection of poetry in exchange for $100. And he even wrote to his aunt a somewhat mysterious note, but I thought this was fun. Now where we just write Philly, the abbreviation used was Phila.
Oh,
So that's how I'm gonna read it.
yeah, I like that.
So the note says, on Tuesday I start for Phila to attend Mrs. Loud's poems, and possibly on Thursday I may start for New York. If I do, I will go straight over to Mrs. Lewis's and send for you. It will be better for me not to go to Fordham, don't you think so? Write immediately in reply and direct to Phila. For fear I should not get the letter, sign no name and address it to E.S.T. Gray, Esquire. Don't forget to write immediately to Phila so that your letter will be there when I arrive.
Oh,
Which is a pretty weird note to send to
yeah.
someone. Like, why does he think he wouldn't get a letter addressed to him to the point that he told her to use a fake name? And what did he do in Fordham that it's better he avoid it?
Mm-hmm. Sus. Seems pretty sus to me.
Yeah, it does. And it seems that he never did make it to Mrs. Loud's, as she wrote in her book later, that the late Mr. Poe was to have edited the edition.
Ah.
So no one could be sure if he actually made it to Philly or not. But what everyone did know is that on October 3rd, so this is a week later, Dr. J.E. Snodgrass received a note reading, Dear Sir, there is a gentleman, rather worse for wear. Wait, hold on.
Snodgrass.
Dear Sir, comma, there is a gentleman, comma, rather worse for wear, comma, at Ryan's Fourth Ward Polls, comma, who goes under the cognomen of Edgar A. Poe, comma, and who appears in great distress, comma, and he says he is acquainted with you, comma, and I assure you he is in need, I assure you, comma, he is in need of immediate assistance, comma, yours, comma, in haste, comma, Joseph W. Walker. This man has never
Wow.
heard of using a period full stop ever.
What the fuck? What
Like
the
half of
hell?
those commas were unnecessary, and you could have just put a period.
Half. You could just do a cute little run-on sentence, you know?
Oh my
Sometimes
God.
that's what's called for. That's in haste. Bitch,
Yours, comma, in haste, comma.
quit putting commas. If you need to
Uh,
go quickly,
or maybe
stop pausing.
he put so many commas because he was in haste and he forgot how grammar works.
Bruh, I don't know. I mean, we can't really say anything. There are people that exist nowadays who don't know the difference between there, and there, so.
Ryan's Fourth Ward polls is also known as Gunner's Hall or Ryan's Tavern because elections used to be fun and happen in bars.
Mhm.
Should bring that back. So the guy who wrote the note, Walker, he helped Poe inside to wait for Snodgrass to arrive along with Poe's uncle, Henry Herring. And they presumed he was drunk, but they agreed to take him to Washington College Hospital. And now to continue what I began in episode 2 as thorough accounts of men's terrible outfits, called a fashion police because we are examining Poe's outfit.
Hi.
One of the things people always pick up on about the circumstances of his death is that he was not wearing his own clothes. And this is the description given by Dr. Snodgrass.
Hmm.
A rusty, almost brimless, tattered, and ribbonless palm leaf hat. His clothing consisted of a sack coat of thin and sleazy black alpaca, ripped more or less at several of its seams, and faded and soiled, and the pants of a steel mix, again, with the commas. This guy. Uh, well, this is a different guy, but
This is a
still.
different guy.
Maybe he was infected by getting the other guy's note. Uh,
Infected with the
Pants.
commas. Yeah.
Yeah. Pants of a steel mixed pattern of cassinate, half worn and badly fitting, if they could be said to fit at all. He
Hmm.
wore neither vest nor neckcloth, gasp, while the bosom of his shirt was both crumpled and badly soiled. On his feet were boots of coarse material and giving no sign of having been blackened for a long time, if at all. He is believed to still have had the other cane as well. And
Hmm.
Snodgrass also described him as having unkempt hair, a haggard and unwashed face, lusterless and vacant eyes. The poor guy.
Looking homeless as hell.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, during his stay at the hospital, Poe lapsed in and out of consciousness. When questioned, his answers were incoherent and unsatisfactory, never being with it enough to explain what happened to him. One evening, he reportedly called out the name Reynolds over and over. In the early hours of the following morning, he died. His final
L.
words being, Lord help my poor soul. No one is really sure who Reynolds might have been. Possibilities include Jeremiah Reynolds, who may have inspired Poe's novel, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. Do you know about the story?
I don't.
Okay.
I know of the story, but I don't. I have never read it.
Like you know the title.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a brief tangent, but we're talking about weird Poe stuff, so it's
I'm
relevant.
ready. I'm ready.
He wrote this is the only like novel that he actually ever wrote, and he wrote it in 1837
Probably why I never read it. Sorry.
about Arthur Gordon Pym, who stows away on a whaling vessel. There's shipwreck, there's mutiny, there's ghosts, there's cannibalism. Purely fictional, though it's inspired by accounts of real life voyages. And like when you think about what's happening in the world at this time, people are trying to sail to the Antarctic and all the exploration
Yeah.
that's happening at the time. Um, Hashtag colonialism. Um,
Hashtag Darwin and the Galapagos Island.
yeah, and like that's just the thing. Yes, there's like colonial expeditions, but there are also people just trying to learn about the world and all these scientific expeditions as well. So
Yeah, there was a big science boom
Yeah,
in intellectualism.
which contributed to a lot of Victorian poetry, which I really enjoy. That was one of my favorite classes in college as well, was my it was like the romantics, and so it was like Shelley and Byron and like Wordsworth and those guys all the way up through like Dickens and the like Victorian, which was very contrast when you're flowers and everything's romantic, and then it's like bleh, capitalism, the Industrial Revolution, everything is terrible. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
It was a
it
great
really
class though.
sucks that the scientific revolution sort of, caused the industrial
Yeesh.
revolution and kind of sent us into this downward spiral of capitalism
It's all right. It'll bite us in the
and
ass here any minute now.
oligarchy and shit. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anyway,
Okay, so it's inspired by like real life voyages, but it's a completely fictional story. And after deciding cannibalism is necessary in the story, straws are drawn between four guys. Straws are drawn to decide who will be eaten. And the guy that gets the short straw is named Richard Parker. That's great. Fast forward to 1884. A 17-year-old boy was killed and eaten after a hurricane left the crew of the Mignonette stranded. His name was Richard Parker. That's a very abridged version. And there are other similarities that are like kind of eerie if you read the story and then read about the case, like, but I'm not going to get into those. However,
you
that's
do,
weird enough in
bruh.
itself. Milo, what the hell? That's your straight up ass.
Yeah.
Take your time, settle down.
His jimmies are very rustled because of all of the cleaning.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. That's weird enough in itself, but it wasn't the only time that one of Poe's stories would be eerily accurate in like predicting the future kind of way.
Mm.
His 1840 story called The Businessman told of a man who suffered a traumatic brain injury that radically altered his personality. But this type of understanding of the frontal lobe and how it affected your personality and everything didn't really happen until 1848 when Phineas Gage took an iron spike through the skull and his
Yeah.
behavioral changes were studied. Neurologist Eric Altschuler said there's dozens of symptoms and he knows every single one. There's everything in that story. We've hardly learned anything more. It's so exact, it's just weird. Like he had a time machine. So like with no knowledge of like neuroscience whatsoever, or even what a frontal lobe is or does, he wrote a story about a guy with brain damage completely accurately. And if that's not weird enough, he also accurately wrote about the origins of the universe in a poem called Eureka 80 years before the Big Bang was hypothesized. He described an expanding universe that began in one instantaneous flash derived from a single primordial particle. He also gives the solution to something called the Olbers paradox, which is basically the question of why the sky is dark at night when there are so many stars in the sky.
Hmm.
The solution being that light from the expanding universe hasn't reached our solar system yet. Italian astronomer Alberto Cappi said, "It's surprising that Poe arrived at his dynamically evolving universe because there was no observational or theoretical evidence suggesting such a possibility at Poe's time. No astronomer in Poe's day could imagine a non-static universe. So they didn't even know the universe was expanding yet, and yet he wrote this whole poem about an expanding universe and like light speed and the Big Bang."
So he had a time machine for sure, is what we're
Literally,
saying.
like This is
He
prime
had.
Doctor Who material right here.
I was just gonna say he had the TARDIS.
What did we get? We got a trash episode about Mary Shelley that did her no justice whatsoever. We could be having this. Call the BBC, I swear to God.
No,
Next season, let's go.
I feel like Suchi Gatwa would do a really good
Oh
job.
my God, yes, he'd probably fall in love with Poe and it would be great.
But Poe would be like, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm asexual.
Sorry, I'm ace in every way possible, but I
I,
loved my cousin, so, you know.
however, I think you're beautiful and that will inspire me to write this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, just really, it's crazy. Anyway, another Reynolds. So that was one theory of who Reynolds might be, the guy who inspired the Arthur Gordon Pym story. I think Poe read his account of like a voyage that he went on.
Mm.
Another Reynolds may have been Henry Reynolds, who was a judge overseeing the polls at Ryan's Tavern. And some people speculate that he might have been saying herring, and not Reynolds. Like if it's like a, like, like
That was really good.
a, since
I mean, when
Harry,
you're dying, you could be saying fucking
yeah, and
anything.
you're like mostly unconscious, and you're just like, like
Bah.
that's, who knows what the fuck you're saying.
Yeah.
And then Herring, if you remember, was his uncle that came with the doctor to go with him to the hospital. The Baltimore Clipper reported that the cause of death was congestion of the brain, which has been interpreted as a euphemism for an alcoholism-related death. Poe's literary rival, with the coolest name ever, Rufus Griswold,
Oh,
wrote an obituary which began, Edgar Allan Poe is dead. He died in Baltimore the day before yesterday. This announcement will startle many, but few will be grieved by it. What an asshole.
have you seen House Fall of the House of Usher yet?
No, I haven't. We got rid of our Netflix.
Okay.
I know. I know. Is he a
Because
character?
you're saying yeah, you're saying
Okay.
all of these names like there Mark Hamill plays a character named Arthur Pym who has
Mm,
this backstory of traveling to the Arctic, and
well, because
Rufus
that's
Griswold is this terrible guy, and
is he
it's
like
a
the
lot.
main? He's like the main. Pim is like the. Is that the family? That's not the family.
No, the family is Usher.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But Pym is like their lawyer slash badass dude.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll watch it eventually. We just deleted Netflix till Shannon gets a job, so.
that's okay.
But he has a job interview on Tuesday.
Slay.
Okay. He also published it anonymously, but people soon figured out that it was him.
Mm.
And he also wrote the only contemporary full-length bio of Poe and portrayed him as a depraved, drunken, drug-addled madman. It even included letters written by Poe to support his claims, except the letters turned out to be forgeries. And, excuse me, all of Poe's friends read it and were like, this is exaggerated, distorted, and or a straight up lie.
Mm.
So his cousin Nielsen paid for a white Italian marble headstone for Poe's grave, but when a train derailed and plowed through the yard where it was kept, it was destroyed. So he was buried without one for some time. A lot of people called it an unmarked grave, but it had like the number and everything. Like it wasn't unmarked.
Yeah.
It was
There was just
marked.
no
There was just no
heads.
headstone and like his name wasn't on it. It just said like number 80 or whatever.
Right.
Um, his funeral lasted 3 minutes. There was no sermon. There were 8 people in attendance. And the reverend who conducted the ceremony was Virginia's cousin. Not his cousin, but Virginia's cousin,
Yeah.
which is confusing.
So confusing.
Um, well, that's the other thing. I was like, how are they related? Like, it doesn't matter, but
Yeah, like which
yeah.
parent's sibling are we talking about here? Like,
Yeah.
you know.
And then because especially when you have like when you're raised by someone else who is like your father, then you have this whole like step family dynamic as
Mm-hmm.
well. But I do think they were first cousins, so I assume it was through his. And like this other guy is a Poe, so presumably he still has contact with his extended family through his actual parents.
Yeah.
Um, I think actually it was a cold and gloomy day for his funeral. And he was later moved in 1875. Someone raised money to have like an actual the statue that isn't there now. The money for that was raised by someone else, and then they moved his grave to be where that statue is, memorial is, and they also moved Virginia and Maria, so they're all buried together as they live together.
Yeah. Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So those are the facts. Let's get into the theories.
Fuck yeah. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
Do you have
One
any more
of
trivia for me?
uh
Or was it just in the beginning?
it was mostly just in the beginning, but you
Okay,
know.
you can test me on some of these theories. I'm sure I'll get them wrong.
Well, okay, the first one of the main theories is that he was a victim of cooping. Do you know what that is?
Hell no. Tell me, please. I
Okay.
beg of you.
All right. So it
That
was
sounds
election
funny.
day in Baltimore. He was found outside of a polling location and he was wearing clothes that weren't his in the state of
Hmm.
delirium, right? So at the time, Baltimore elections were notoriously corrupt and violent.
Mm.
There were political gangs on par with like soccer like firms, hooligans, like that they make movies about. You know, Elijah Wood was in that Green Street Hooligans. Like that's what we're talking. But political gangs, not soccer gangs. They were known to kidnap people and force them to go in and out of the polls voting over and over, changing their clothes so they would be less recognizable as having just voted. And they often got the people liquored up to force them to do this and also beat them. So this may account for why no one knew his whereabouts for several days, because these victims were often held in what was called coops, or what were called coops, hence the name
All
cooping,
cooped up.
for days at a time while they were getting them drunk or giving them opium. And they would be made to do this at like different polling locations too. So voter fraud, as old as this country, still happening.
Yeah. And he
Yay.
said that he was looking for funds. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you know, if he just got off a train or something, or was trying to get on a train, someone could
mhm.
easily have just grabbed him. They weren't really shy about doing this. Like, people knew it was happening. The downside to this theory is that Poe was well enough known, especially in Baltimore, that someone probably would have recognized him. The most widely believed theory is that he was a lifelong alcoholic, but this is also wildly controversial. His friend Thomas Maine Reed, who was his drinking companion, said that they never did anything crazy and that his drinking was never habitual. He was also a member of the Sons of Temperance at the time of his death, and they had no reason to believe that he violated his pledge to their community. There has since been a theory that Poe may have suffered from alcohol dehydrogenase deficiency syndrome.
Dehydrogeny?
Dehydrogenase.
Dehy
It's an
okay.
enzyme.
Fascinating.
You might want to take notes, actually. I'll tell you in a minute. The
Okay.
symptoms, but this basically means that he wouldn't have been able to metabolize alcohol, resulting in alcohol intolerance. And today we know that people who experience this often just decide they don't want to drink because it's not fun. You know, they don't get drunk.
Hmm.
which also seems to line up with his abstaining from drinking for the most part, except for because he really only went on binges when like life sucked. Like one of the
Hmm.
biggest ones he went on was when Virginia died.
Hmm.
So signs of alcohol intolerance include stop me when this stops sounding familiar. Flushing in the face, neck, and chest. Nausea, vomiting, rapid heartbeat or heart palpitations, low blood sugar. No, sorry, low blood pressure, not blood
Did
sugar.
you say stop me when this starts sounding familiar?
No. I said
Oh,
stop me when this stops sounding
oh,
familiar.
word. Okay.
Like, well, I don't really think you get the nausea and vomiting, but I was like flushing, rapid heartbeat and heart palpitations, low blood pressure, um, throbbing headache, fatigue, stuffy nose, and diarrhea. So like since Katie was visiting and I got super drunk. Um,
God.
but yeah, so it's like you're not even drunk, you just get ill.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe he did like go on binges, but if that's how alcohol affects him, it's obviously going to not look like just a drunk person to anyone observing from the outside. The nurse who helped take care of Virginia when she was ill said that she believed Poe suffered from lesions on his brain and brain fever.
Beast.
She also recalled that he had a scar on his left shoulder that only Virginia knew about, and she said her name was Mrs. Shue, the nurse. She
What a
noticed
good
it.
name.
Shew.
Oh, okay.
Uh, she noticed it like because she would take care of him when he was sick too, like
Yeah.
and she noticed it while she was helping him change when during those times she always noticed it. She
Mhm.
asked him if he had been hurt around his heart and he had said yes and that his head was also hurt in some kind of incident. But he never said why and she said only Virginia knew like where the scar came from.
Okay.
So he has this combination of injuries combined with alcohol intolerance, and some people believe that that explains the fits of madness and his sudden death.
Because
People
he
have
had a
also,
TBI, probably.
yeah, people have also proposed epilepsy, syphilis, meningitis, carbon monoxide poisoning, and even rabies, which isn't taken very seriously because there are
Yeah.
accounts of him like drinking water
Yeah.
when he was in the hospital, which is really the only thing they have to discount the fact that he had rabies. But I think that's pretty solid. If you would like to learn more about the symptoms of rabies, you can tune into Hannah's zombie episode, where we talk a lot about hydrophobia that is
Hell
associated
yeah.
with rabies. And that's the point that these people are making. There is also the matter of his exhumation when they moved his gravesite, which was in 1875, if you remember.
Hmm.
Have you heard about Poe's brain?
No.
Okay, buckle
Did they
up.
do shit with his brain when they exhumed him?
Workers noticed something rattling around inside his skull. It was reported that the cerebral mass, as seen through the base of the skull, evidenced no signs of disintegration or decay, though of course it was somewhat diminished in size. That was a quote. People believe that his brain had shriveled up and dried out, which we
Oh,
know is not how brains work and they tend to
no.
liquefy during decomp.
Yeah. Like,
But we also
pretty
know,
quick.
yeah, we also know, thanks to modern medicine, that brain tumors can calcify.
Oh, okay.
And this was like big enough that people thought it was his brain. Like,
Hmm.
if this is like your brain size, I'm assuming
Yeah.
it's at least the size of a fist, which is a big fucking tumor to have in your brain.
Yeah, dude.
And Now, much of the erratic behavior, reports of hallucinations, if you think he has a brain tumor, that all makes so much sense.
Holy shit.
And we
Even
had,
even the drinking thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we had Mrs. Shu believing that he had lesions on the brain, which like is not entirely correct, but she understood what was like she knew that it was something, that
Huh.
something was wrong with his brain physically. Did any, he saw a lot of male doctors. Did any of them take a guess at that? No, they did not. They said shit like heart disease.
Hmm.
Women for the win. Finally, there is a theory that he faked his own death so that he could secretly follow the trail of the Beale papers and find hidden treasure. Do you know about the Beale papers?
It sounds incredibly familiar.
Probably because season 1, episode 8 of Expedition Unknown, Josh follows the trail of the Beale papers.
That's right.
Um,
Jesus Christ.
so, um,
Oh my God.
this, so they were said to have been written in 1820, but they weren't published as a pamphlet until 1885, which doesn't really work from a timeline perspective unless Poe did in fact have a time machine. Um, so if you really want to learn about the Beale Papers, go watch that episode of Expedition Unknown. Obviously, there are people still looking for this treasure, but essentially, the Beale Papers are a set of three coded letters that led to a cache of precious metals. Only the second letter has been solved, revealing a general location, I think somewhere in Virginia. And like I said, people are still trying to find it today. I think the only real connection here is that Poe's actually like really good at creating and solving ciphers, and he had an interest in cryptography. He published under a fake name, two ciphers under a fake name, and they weren't solved until like one was solved in 1992 and the other was solved in 2000.
God,
It took people over 100 years, 150
that's
years
friggin' crazy.
almost. Yeah. So those are the theories. What do you think happened?
I'm gonna go with time machine and the time machine radiation or whatever, like fucked with his head and gave him cancer.
And that's why he
Yeah.
has a brain tumor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't write this down, but I did read that they did do heavy metals testing on his hair as well.
Mm.
Um, which I thought was interesting. They tested for like mercury, lead, arsenic, uranium, a couple others. And the uranium testing was actually below average, which kind of makes sense when you think about like radiation at the time wasn't really a thing like it is today.
Yeah.
And then all the others were like really high for what our levels would be, but normal for like levels at the time when water was all contaminated and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah. Like environmental levels were, and like lead paint was still a thing. And
Yeah. It was
yeah.
typical of the time to
Yeah.
just be overloaded with crappy shit
Yeah.
in the everything.
I think the lead was like the one that was unusually high, but it could still be explained away if you take into account that he had said he was sick when he left Philly and that he was
Mm.
probably taking prescription medicine, which would have had lead in it.
Mhm.
So, like, unusually high as a base for a base level, but like not unusually high with things that were normal to ingest.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I kind of like, I think the brain tumor in combination with this like alcohol intolerance makes logically the most sense.
That he
But
would go a little bit cray and
yeah,
all this, yeah.
and that would probably give him like a lot of headaches and stuff too. It would just make him
Yeah.
miserable. Okay, before we do our pop culture wrap up, I want to tell you
Mm.
about the Poe Toaster real quick. Have you heard of him?
Poe Toaster?
Yeah.
No. What are you
Um,
talking about?
The first appearance of the Poe Toaster was in 1949 on the night of January 18th, Poe's birthday. A
Okay.
stranger entered the cemetery, left a partial bottle of cognac and 3 roses on Poe's grave. There is some speculation as to whether this had happened previously, but hold on. Hey, come here! Yes, you. Come home with a new haircut and not come in and show me? It's bullshit.
Oh, that's funny.
Uh, turn the light on?
Why you want to see my hair?
Yes, I want to see your hair.
Why do you want to put this in the podcast?
I don't know. I just want to see it. Give me a little twirl. Yeah, it looks good. You like it?
I never like my hair when it's first cut.
Well, that's silly.
It'll grow on me.
Hair does tend to do that, yes. Okay, thank you. Bye. Okay. Um,
I just want you to know that you're disgusting.
thank you.
No, I noticed that like when Shannon walked in, your eyes literally started sparkling. And I was like, I'm gonna vomit everywhere.
It's because we're cute. There is some speculation as to whether this had happened before 1949, but with 1949 being the centennial of Poe's death, it seemed meaningful though confusing because it's the date of his birth but the year of his death.
Mhm.
But like, whatever. I thought it makes sense. Regardless, this started happening. Luna just like crept by like a little raccoon. This started happening every year overnight between January 18th and January 19th. In 1993, so like almost 50 years later, a
Mhm.
note was left for the curator of the Baltimore Poe House Museum stating that the torch will be passed. And in 1999, 50 years later, another was left to let him know, the curator, that the original toaster had died a few months prior. And it was believed that the visits after 1993 were shared by 2 younger people, presumably honoring their father or like his wishes. And this continued until 2009, marking 200 years since Poe's birth. But in 2012, after 3 years without visits, the curator of the museum declared that the tradition must have ended. And there are some of the cognac bottles that have been kept at the Baltimore Poe House and Museum,
Mm.
which are just, I think that's really cute. Someone for what, 45 years of their life went every year on Poe's birthday to leave him roses and cognac. Like, aw.
That's pretty nice. See, I thought when you said the Poe toaster,
It's gonna be a toaster.
I thought you were gonna tell me about some kind of appliance. I was like, oh,
Yeah, I need one of these.
interesting. Yeah, Georgia, tell me about it.
So, I mean, it's a dumb name, but that's what he's referred to as. Um, and they speculate that it's 3 roses because there's the 3 of them buried in the grave together,
Oh.
which is cute. No one really knows the significance of the cognac because he didn't really. It's not like he wrote the cask of cognac, you know. It's the cask
Hmm.
of Amontillado.
Yeah,
So
but
no one.
okay, but what vintage was the cognac?
That's a great question. I don't know. If when I get my schedule for DC, I will see if I can squeeze in a trip to Baltimore because it's only an hour on the train.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and then I can eat some seafood and
you can do that in
go.
DC too.
I can't do that in DC too, but get some Baltimore crab, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, pop culture. The things I wanted to talk about. There's an episode of South Park
Okay.
where the goth kids and the emo kids and the vamp kids are all like they have to work together because the goth kids and the vamp kids are like turning emo and they're
Mm.
like, "Oh my God, how do we save them?" And they do a séance and they summon Poe's ghost
Hell
and
yeah.
he's like, I hate all of you. You're all stupid, but I'll help you anyway. Because the only thing that the goth kids and the vamp kids could like agree on is that like Poe is their progenitor.
Mhm.
It's really funny. Did you watch Altered Carbon?
That's the one with Anthony Mackie.
Season 2 is Anthony Mackie, yeah.
Season 2 is Anthony Mackie.
Hmm.
The first season is the one with the guy from Suicide Squad. The first Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
White dude,
Yes.
very military-y.
Yes.
Yeah.
Looked
Never
like the
saw it, but I've seen a lot of clips.
looked a lot like the guy that ghosted me before he stopped working out, unfortunately.
Mm.
Uh, um, yes. So in season 2, there is a hotel that is run by an AI interface. The hotel is called the Raven.
Yeah.
It's a bar as well. And the AI interface is like the bartender and everything. And
Okay.
he's Poe. Uh, the AI interface takes the form of Poe to run this hotel.
I like that.
Um, yeah, it was fun. I watched both seasons. I could not tell you a whole lot about them anymore.
Hmm.
I didn't hate them. I'm not super into sci-fi, and that is very much a level of sci-fi that does not interest me. But the show itself was still, I mean, I still watched 2 seasons of it, so
Yeah. At least it was captivating enough to like keep going.
yeah. John Astin, the OG Gomez from the
Yeah.
original TV series, also father of Sean Astin. Um,
Yes.
I think I just realized that they were related recently, and I'm still like not
Oh, you're
mentally
still like
yeah, I'm
having a
still like
moment about it.
processing it. Like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, but also like what a dynasty they have there. Like
Hmm.
Gomez and Samwise. Oh my God. He did a one-man play called Once Upon a Midnight that was like a biographical depiction of Poe, which sounds really fun and very on brand for someone who also played Gomez. Can I help you? Did you hear that?
No, Milo was also yelling.
Come here.
Oh my goodness, I can't
Cannot
even
even
see
see you.
her. No, because she's such a void.
Abyss presence.
For real.
Uh, Hi, I love you. You're so cute. She's purring so loudly. I did have on my list Mike Flanagan's Fall of the House of Usher,
Mm-hmm.
which I still need to see. And as we talked about at the beginning, The Raven with John Cusack.
Hell yeah. I gotta rewatch that. I gotta see. I'm gonna quick Goog to see what I can watch that on. Because I'll get a free
Yeah.
trial for whatever I need to, right?
Yeah.
The Raven, John Cusack, 2012.
I went to see that movie in theaters.
Oh my God. I forgot that that's what John Cusack looks like in this movie. Holy fuck.
You know what? I never
Uh,
forget how Luke Evans looks in that movie.
oh yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Oof. Hit me with the. I forgot Brendan Gleeson was in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Some free app. I don't know what the hell this is.
What was it called?
Flex.
Oh, never heard of that.
You can
Okay.
watch it for free.
Yeah, you should totally watch it.
Oh my God. I just I clicked on the director to like see who the hell this guy is, and I was just jump scared a little bit. Um, let me see if I can I share my
I think I can.
screen?
Could you? It's got blurry, but this is pathetic.
Oh yeah, host disabled participant screen sharing.
I
I'll
can
just send you a snap. You can see it that way.
Okay, all right. Hi, you're so cute. I love you so much. Can you come here?
But he also directed V for Vendetta.
Oh,
Yeah,
come
and
here.
some other shit. He's Australian. He assistant directed the Matrix trilogy and Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones.
What a switch in genres he's done then to go
Yeah.
on to do something like The Raven. Oh, there was oh, you're so
Oh,
cute. Look at this.
he also directed Sense8, that Netflix show.
Oh,
Oh,
I didn't watch
Luna.
that. I know,
Oh,
isn't she so cute?
love that show.
The other thing I should have added was who? Christian Bale. He was in that Netflix movie. Do you know what I'm talking about? It came out like 2, 3 years ago.
What was it again?
Oh my God, what a face.
Yeah. Like that just like popped up. I'm like, wow.
No, no. Christian Bale, Poe, The Pale Blue Eye.
The Pale Blue Eye. Um, what?
He plays a detective investigating a series of grisly murders with the help of a young cadet who will eventually go on to become the world-famous author Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, I think it was like made for Netflix and it came out
Mm.
in 2022. Harry Melling plays Poe. What else is he in? He's got the forehead for it. Oh, that's fucking Dudley Dursley.
Oh, what? Okay.
I was like, he looks familiar. Why does he look familiar? Yeah, so that's something that I keep meaning to watch and always forget about when the time comes. But um yeah,
Oh,
that's what
damn.
what I got about the mysterious death of Edgar Allan Poe. Good shit.
Good shit.
I feel bad that Shane and I were having a conversation the other day, like if you could be a fly on the wall to see what really happened in like this mystery or that mystery, like what would you pick? And that would definitely be one of them. Like I just want to know what happened. Honestly, it could be a combination of all three. Like if he's already having like these bouts of instability because he has a brain tumor, and then he gets kidnapped by these Coopers and is already uh, having like being affected poorly by them liquoring him up. Like it's just the perfect storm of
Or it could be a secret, more complex fourth thing.
yeah,
Like,
like he's time traveling
yeah, time travel. Yeah.
with an alien known as the
Okay.
Doctor.
Uh,
Yeah. That that and Van Gogh. I think that's what actually triggered the conversation was there's an episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved where they look at Van Gogh's death because
hmm,
there are some people who believe that he did not commit suicide.
yeah.
And the real story is of that is even more sad, honestly.
I fully believe that he killed himself. He was not having a good time.
It's just one of those things, I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Shooting
Okay.
yourself in the stomach is a rough way to go about killing yourself.
Yeah, well,
And where was
I'm
the
not gonna
gun?
get into this.
Where was the gun, Hannah?
I have to pee.
All right. That's all I got.
Thanks for the
So,
info. Holy hell.
yeah, that was a lot of fun to like. I mean, obviously, I went on
What was
like
that
a
doctor's name? It was like something ridiculous.
Snodgrass.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Have you never met a Snodgrass in real life? I sure have.
No.
And she fucking lived up to that name, let me tell
Well,
you.
Oh, God.
that concludes this week's broadcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you wish to stay in touch, reach out to us at broadcastfromthebelfry@gmail.com or stalk us on Instagram at broadcastfromthebelfry. Again, I hope you've enjoyed our little show. Please rate and review. And until next week, stay spooky.